The UFC returned to Yas Island, Abu Dhabi,
Yes.
this week, and they put on a good card. Always a good crowd. Always funny to see. Look out in the crowd, and you just see tons of guys dressed in all white.
Yep.
Usually only men in there, but
Yep.
we digress. Good main.
This time it's not racist though. Normally when
Yeah,
you see a
you
bunch of
can-
guys dressed in all white, it's in Mississippi somewhere, and
That
we're
is
running.
true. That is true. They don't have their face covered. But a good main card. Some standout performances.
Yep.
Some guys that really showed that they're true contenders, especially in the main event in Umar Nurmagomedov. But before we get to the main card, start discussing that, Alex, let's do a little recap of the prelims. How'd those go?
They were interesting. So Cedricus Dumas, he channeled his inner Vin Diesel.
I believe you're pronouncing that wrong.
What is it?
Dumbass?
No, he
Oh,
won
Dumas.
this time. He wasn't a dumbass. He was a dumbass last time when he turned away thinking he got an eye poke and then got knocked out. This time, he was Cedricus Dumas because he won. He channeled his inner Vin Diesel in his post-fight speech, talking about he had to
Family?
do it for his family. And that he did. He won by unanimous decision. And that moved him through 3-2 in the UFC, so he's now positive, which is a good look for him. Jai Herbert defeated Rolando Bedoya by unanimous decision. It was a great fight for him. He said he was watching the Olympic judo wrestlers, and that's why he kind of turned on his wrestling. For the
Speaking of
first time in
Olympic
his
judo,
UFC.
no idea what's happening. I have no idea how they scored. It was
Yeah, I've seen
crazy to watch.
I've seen a small Japanese man fight a very big French man. Yeah, it's very
French dude whooped his ass.
beat the shit out of him. It was crazy. But let's get back to the UFC. Sam Page Hughes picked up momentum in the second and third round after dropping the first to take the split decision from Victoria Dudakova. Honestly, for her, that's the second time for Sam Hughes that she's taken an undefeated person's
Take the O.
giving them a loss. So second time for her, that's big. She's 9 and moves to 9-6. Let's move on to Guram Kutateladze. He took on Kutateladze.
Okay, that's what I thought you
I can
said.
say it 3 times. Kutateladze. There we go. He took on Jordan Bucinic. Can't really say his name that well, surprisingly. He weathered the storm of the epidemic. He won that fight 29-28, all 3 judges' scorecards. It was another unanimous decision. He got pretty rocked pretty hard early in the fight, but
I thought you said he got rock hard.
I got rock hard. Never mind. He got rocked hard early in the fight and then rebounded well, because he won the second and third round respectively. Moving on.
It's a good way to rebound.
Yeah. Shamil Gaziev moves to 2-1 in the UFC after an impressive decision win over Don'Tale Mayes. Gaziev controlled the pace, the direction. He outstruck. He just completely won this fight. 2 out of 3 takedowns with 12 control minutes. It was, a big showing for Shamil Gaziev after taking a loss earlier this year, maybe last year. I can't remember. And moving on to Muhammad Yahya, he was knocked out by Cowboy Fernandez. He earned his first KO of the night for the card and his first UFC win. He set up the leg kicks to slow Yahya down and a big right hand to seal the deal.
It's a good name, though, Muhammad Yahya.
Absolutely. And then Azamat Murzakanov moves to 14-0.
A lot of hard names to say on this card.
Yeah. He got the stunning second-round KO over Alonzo Atomic Minifield. Minifield took a lot of damage early, and it honestly seemed like it was destined to kind of go the KO route early. Man, I'm sweating like a pig right now. This is crazy. Anywho, moving on. Let's go to the main card where...
Main card, 6 fights.
Yep.
We got some of them right, some of them wrong.
Yeah, I went 4-2 on this one.
I went exactly 3-3, so neither one of us did great. Neither one of us did horrible.
I did better, though, because you suck.
As I hinted, the main event really was a statement win from Nurmagomedov. But before we get there, let's go through the main card top to bottom, and we're going to start with Alvarez-Brenner, where Alvarez had the third-round KO.
I guess that would be bottom to top, actually. You said top to bottom. Nah, I digress.
Nah.
Let's move on.
Alvarez finished Brenner. Brenner, the first time he's been knocked out in his career. Alvarez continued his strong performances in the UFC. I believe that moves him to now 6-2 in the UFC, 21-3 overall for the Spaniard. So overall, an impressive performance. His striking was deadly. By the third round, he was just beating up Brenner. Brenner was just a punching bag for him.
Yeah, he really picked Brenner apart in all 3 rounds until, like you said, he finished him in the third. It was a good showing by Alvarez. He did everything he needed. He defended takedown attempts. He peppered in the right amount of damage. He didn't like attack too early to gas himself. He didn't do too much to where Brenner was able to hook him and catch him. He did everything he absolutely needed to do. And then he called out King Green. That was a weird one for me.
It's a weird one, but it's a guy that has a big name. Alvarez knows people will watch if he fights King Green.
But it's like one fight out of King Green just getting absolutely torched.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's a big name. It's a guy not a lot of people know who, he's now 6-2 in the UFC, so he's kind of established himself. He wants to get his name out there. Go beat up King Green.
Yeah.
Then you're right there in line for a rank.
Joe Alvarez has 21 finishes. He's never been to never won by decision.
That's correct. 21 finishes, 17 of them by sub. Now 4 KOs.
That's pretty crazy.
TKOs.
So if he doesn't fight King Green, which I don't think he's personally going to have that fight next, what about Jalen Turner or Patty Pimblett?
I don't think Patty fights him. I think Patty he now can call his shot a little bit in terms of he's going to fight a guy ranked higher than him.
Yeah, he's not. I don't think Patty. Realistically, I don't think Patty's going to take that fight. That out of the 3, that is going to be my reach for Joel. If both guys just catch Twitter beef or something, they might get it. I don't know. But I doubt that one happens.
I like Jalen Turner. It's 2 guys that can strike. Both guys have good ground games too.
Jalen Turner's big for the lightweight division.
He's
but
a tall
he fights
guy,
in it all the
6'3". I think that would be a good, entertaining fight. Put it as a co-main of a fight night.
Right.
I'd watch that.
Sweet. Me too. I'm going to watch him anyway, though.
Agreed. I'd watch it anyway, but I'd definitely watch that one. Let's move on. Next fight, Mackenzie Dern, Lupi Godinez. Alex, I think we both got this one wrong. We both thought Lupi Godinez was going to be better on the feet.
And I changed your mind on it, too.
You did change my mind. We thought she was going to be better on the feet and use her striking advantage over Mackenzie Dern. Well, Mackenzie Dern just said, fuck that. Use her superior ground game and just kind of controlled the fight from the get-go. She knew what she was better at than Lupi, even though Lupi had never been subbed and, was generally pretty good on the ground. But Mackenzie knew she had the advantage there, and she took full advantage of it.
I would say that she even beat Lupi in striking.
She
came out with surprising striking and dominated at first, which putting Lupi on the back foot the entire fight. And then, as we're rewatching right now, the takedowns with the control time.
Yeah, I think the takedowns kind of took something out of Lupi. She couldn't do anything, and then Mackenzie just controlled her on the feet.
On top of, Mackenzie said it herself. She fought a boxer and then forced a boxer to shoot takedowns. That when you do that, it's like, oh, well.
Yeah, usually it's a pretty good sign that you're dominating the fight.
Right. So this is a weird one. Obviously, she doesn't really, do call-outs, Mackenzie Dern. I know she wants a rematch of somebody she's beaten, but she's almost destined to have a rematch. She's lost to Xiaonan Yan, Jessica Andrade, Amanda Lemos, Marina Rodriguez. So with that, I have to ask, who's next in regards? Because Tatiana Suarez is undefeated, arguably next in line for a title shot.
Yeah, so that's who Mackenzie called out, and I don't think she's getting that fight.
No, I don't think so either. She beat Verna Yendaroba by decision back in 2020 before Verna was on her rise. So maybe
Verna, I don't think she would take that fight either, just because it's like, why would you?
Right, same thing. And Verna's already in line for a title shot. So in my mind, you have to do a rematch where Mackenzie lost, and also the opponent isn't in line for a title shot. I know there's only like 4 spots. But you have somebody like Xiaonan Yan, who got beat by Weili Zhang wholeheartedly last time. I think that's the fight to make. Xiaonan Yan versus Mackenzie Dern. It's as pecking order for the title as it is, and I don't think Xiaonan Yan is the next in line for a title shot. If she beats Mackenzie Dern, maybe.
I agree that would be a good fight, but I also agree with you that it's probably, no matter who she fights next, going to be a rematch. It's going to be one of the girls we mentioned.
I mentioned them all, so I think it kind of has to be.
And she's fought them all.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, it's going to be a rematch, I believe. But yeah, Mackenzie Dern, good win for her. This kind of gets her, she's had a very up and down career. She came in with a 2-fight losing streak, so nice to see her win one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of losing streaks, right. Let's move on to the next fight.
My favorite losing streak of all time.
Well, first, we came into this with both fighters combined with 10 straight losses.
That's not enough for me.
That's 7 for Tony Ferguson coming in, 3 for Michael Chiesa. And Michael Chiesa ended his losing streak with the first round submission to Tony Ferguson. So that's, if you can do math, 7 plus 1, that's now 8 straight losses for Tony Ferguson. A UFC record.
Halfway retired.
And the crazy thing is, he had a 12-fight winning streak before the 8-fight losing streak. And as you said, halfway retired. I watched the fight on mute. I thought for 2 days he retired, by the way. If you watch it on mute, it looked like he was crying. He took his gloves off. They interviewed him after he lost in the first round.
Yeah.
And then I come to find out he didn't retire.
Yeah, so you should have watched the audio because Chiesa thought he was retiring. So instead, Chiesa said, I would love to get here, talk on the mic, and talk about my victory, but I'm giving the time to a UFC legend.
Oh, I'd be pissed off if I was Chiesa.
And then DC walks over to Ferguson, and he sits there for a second, doesn't say a word, because he's like emotional. I get it. You're about to pretty much retire.
He put his glove on the ground.
And he just throws it into the middle of the ring. He's like, I'm taking this one home. I'm going to hug and kiss my family. I'll think about it. And they're like, oh, you just completely shit on the retirement part. This is probably why Dana hates it. Probably why Dana doesn't respect Henry Cejudo's retirement. This is why, you can't.
Because you're too emotional in the only one that's really, not the only one, but like Khabib did it, but like you knew he was never going to change his mind.
Yeah, and people, yeah, exactly. Michael Chiesa did great.
It was a great performance from Chiesa. I mean, he
started with great left and right hooks. It wasn't even about like splitting the guard or anything. He was just hitting him.
A fight between two guys out of their prime, well out of their prime. Chiesa.
God damn, you're just shitting on Chiesa today.
I mean, he used to be a legit title contender.
He's still a good fighter.
Yeah, but he's not
just
a top
36.
10 fighter. He's not a top 10 fighter.
I'll agree with you that. He's not a top 10 fighter.
He was 11-4 at one point in the UFC. He's now 12-8.
Fair.
But Chiesa, this was a good performance. He dominated.
He did.
And he halfway put a legend into retirement, so no complaints from Chiesa with a first-round finish.
Yeah, it was a good fight. I definitely got who's next for Chiesa. It was hard to pick him because I wanted to pick somebody who was equally out of their prime, as you would say. I didn't want to put Michael Chiesa against some undefeated monster and just have him just get ragdolled in my mind. I want a good fight, hypothetically. So let's talk about it. Let's look at it. The 40-year-old king of Kung Fu, Muslim Salikhov.
Muslim Salikhov?
Coming off of a loss.
Wouldn't be a bad one. I thought you were about to give me Bobby Green.
No, I'm done talking about Bobby Green. He's he keeps saying his title fight's here, but every time he fights like a not real fighter, but somebody who's up and coming, he gets thrashed. Rightfully so. He's also out of his prime. After that, what about Nicholas Dalby? 39 years old, kind of not hit or miss in the UFC, but last couple fights, win and loss. Vicente Luque. He was supposed to fight Nick Diaz coming up, but Nick Diaz had to pull out. So Vicente,
this fight card.
So Vicente Luque is kind of ready for a fight.
They said he couldn't get a visa.
But Michael Chiesa didn't take any damage.
Yeah, he could fight tomorrow.
If he wants to fight soon, if he wants to get on maybe the Sphere card later on this year, fight again in October in Abu Dhabi or something like that, or Saudi Arabia, wherever they're fighting. It's an option for him because he didn't really do any damage. He can just go pocket some
all
money.
Good options. I think anybody, as you said, I think an older fighter is a good fight for him. I don't think he's a ranked fighter anymore. I don't think he's
I don't think he's trying to be.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he's legitimately trying to move up the rankings.
Compete with fighters.
Exactly. He's doing it for the love of the game. But yeah, Michael Chiesa has a few options. I like him.
Cool.
I like all those.
Let's move on to one I got right and one you got wrong. But honestly, you went with your heart, not your head.
Yeah.
We talked about it, and you agreed that Davison Figueiredo probably was going to win the fight. Not like you agreed like that, but there were points for either side. But Figgy on his rise is...
Figgy's legit.
He's a former champ.
He's legit at 135, and he did to Cheeto Vera almost what Sean O'Malley did, where he was just too fast for him. He was too good on the feet for Cheeto.
Yep.
He had the first ever knockdown of Cheeto Vera.
It's crazy that O'Malley didn't get a knockdown in that fight because he just went after him round after round.
Well, I think O'Malley walked so Figueiredo could run.
Weight was softened.
Yeah, I think some of those...
When you can't open up the jar,
yeah,
and then your wife brings it to you, and you're like...
I think that knee from O'Malley on the Cheeto,
kind
of loosen it up a little bit.
Yeah.
As if we use the jar.
Is Cheeto going to get finished soon? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think he's going to get finished. I think he's still legit. I hated seeing this fight because honestly, it was like Figueiredo was on a different level than Cheeto.
It was a good fight.
Figueiredo's quick. He's fast. He has power at this. I mean, he's a legit 135 title contender.
It's almost as if Figueiredo grew in height because he seemed a lot taller than when he was at the smaller division. I mean, I know he's not a huge guy, but he just
I think he's only
bigger.
what, like 5'6"?
Yeah, he's like my
5'5",
size.
yeah.
5'6". No, I'm 5'6" actually. He's smaller.
And
than
Cheeto's 5'8", but yeah, he
did great. He notched 2 out of 14 takedowns, got some control time, beat him on the feet.
He just controlled the whole fight.
Yeah, he did everything.
It was a fight
he
where
needed to
Cheeto, you wouldn't say he got dominated, but there was never a point in the fight where you're like, Cheeto's winning this fight. It was
Right.
Figueiredo in control the whole time. Figueiredo was the easy winner if you went to the judges' scorecard. And Figueiredo comes out of this looking like if he doesn't have a title shot next, he's one fight away from a 135 title shot.
Yeah, so he's fourth ranked bantamweight now.
I think it's legitimate where he
so
could
you
get.
have Sean O'Malley, Merab, Umar, Peter Yan, and then Davis and Figueiredo. That's the list of his next fight. One of those 4 people.
Umar said, well, we'll get to that later.
Yeah,
But
I think he has a reasonable stake that he could beat somebody like Umar Nurmagomedov undefeated.
he could easily get
'Cause
the
he can-
winner of Merab, Sean O'Malley.
I think that's an option. The winner of Merab O'Malley. I think Peter Yan's even an option.
Give him Peter Yan, a title eliminator.
Right. They need some because this isn't the division where people don't fight. It's similar to the
155
featherweights and the flyweights. They all are just pretty active, especially within the top 5 of the division. They're all waiting and they're all in the pecking order, deserving of title shots. It's just who's getting it next and where do we go. So that's another hard one.
But yeah, Figueiredo, if he wasn't already a legit, established himself at 135, this one did.
Yeah, dude, he walked out, smashed Rob Font, then killed Cody Garbrandt, and then
big names all in the 135 division.
And he deserved it because he was at flyweight. He was taking down big names.
Yeah.
He was the champ. He fought the same people 500 times in a row. It was time to move on and show people that he can bang with the best of them. So I'm excited to see Davis and Figueiredo.
Me too. He's one of those guys. I love watching him fight.
I just hope he doesn't beat O'Malley. I like the chaos that O'Malley brings.
I agree with you.
The shit talking, I not relate to it, but I'm American. I can speak literally his language. I don't speak Figgy's language. So I like him. I hope Sean retains the belt for a while.
But let's move on. Co-main event, and this was the people's favorite fighter, Shavir Bullet Magomedov, taking on
this dude.
He's crazy.
He really is.
You said O'Malley was. This guy is just walking chaos.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. I would like to see Shara at one point in his career stack up against Sean Strickland, because that just forward progress, just going to hit you no matter what kind of fight, is the chaos that we need.
Yeah, Shara got the unanimous decision win, a rare decision win for him. That's now only his 3rd decision win out of his 14 career fights.
Second in the UFC, though.
Second in the UFC, that's right. He's 3-0 now in the UFC, though. I mean, he's a guy, if you're online at all, he's like an online Twitter, Instagram UFC legend.
He is a pirate, for sure. He took on Mikhail Oleksiejczuk.
The pole.
It was a good fight from Shavir Magomedov. He outstruck him.
Shavir Bullet.
Even when he got taken down, it wasn't the end of the fight. I think at the last minute, maybe last 90 seconds of the fight, or for the first round, he got taken down, and he was like, yeah, I already beat you this round, so you can have it. He just let the clock run out, defending it well. His game plan is just to stand up and bang every time.
Stand up and bang.
His kicks are powerful and crazy directional. They come from good angles. He's wild. He is a wild man, blind in one eye, and I think he's going to fight in October. I mean,
he has to. He can only fight.
Right.
He can't fight in the U.S.
No, they need to figure out some loophole. Give him a Bisping eye or something so he can cheat it. Well, I guess they already know, so you can't.
But yeah, I would almost guarantee he's going to fight in October when they're back in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a guy. I think the crowd loves him, especially in the Middle East. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to say about this guy. I think he's moving up. He's now 4-0.
Yeah.
3-0, I'm sorry.
3-0 in the UFC, 14-0 in his career.
He's almost, I think a ranked opponent might be what's next for him.
All right. Well, if we're talking ranked opponents, his call out was Nick Diaz.
I mean, I don't think anybody wants to see that.
No, I don't want to see Nick Diaz get a visa just to go get killed by Magomedov.
We saw Robbie Lawler destroy Nick Diaz.
Exactly. Kevin Holland.
Now that would be a fight I would pay to watch because both guys standing up. Mm-hmm. Kevin Holland might actually go to the ground on that one.
Kevin Holland's a big dude as far as his height. He's got reach.
The shit talking would be crazy.
Shit talking would be crazy. This one would almost border on disrespectful, I think.
Oh yeah, and I would love every minute of it.
Like I think how we had Khabib jumping out of the thing, fighting crowd, people who were in the team and everything. I think it could almost border that, or Joe Pyfer.
I like Pyfer too, but I like the chaos of him versus Kevin Holland.
When I wrote Kevin Holland,
chaos versus chaos.
I was like, ooh shit, I like this one. Kevin Holland, he's down to fight anytime, anywhere. He doesn't really care about the ranking. I mean, he wants it obviously, but he knows
that probably wouldn't be a main event of a card, but that would be like the people's main event.
I think honestly, Umar Nurmagomedov versus Kevin Holland would be whatever the card in October is going to be. I think it would be the prelim main. I think it would headline the prelim.
I don't know. I think they might open the main with that. That would be one that everybody wants to watch.
That's true. Either way, I think give the people what they want. Give me what I want. Let Umar Nurmagomedov fight Kevin Holland.
I think that's the fight to make. Okay. Let's move on. Main event, and this was probably the most impressive performance, I would argue, of the whole card.
And the most depressing. Yeah. Because it's another American hero falling to Russia.
Nurmagomedov. Umar Nurmagomedov, the unanimous decision win over Cory Sandhagen. I mean, what can you say? Nurmagomedov, 18-0, 6-0 now in the UFC. He has Khabib in his corner, and man, it looks like it. He's a high IQ fighter.
He's a villain.
He's a villain. I don't think he's even as much as a villain as Islam and Khabib though. But his high IQ, he has crazy ground game. He proved he can strike with the strikers too. I mean, I think he might have won every round of this fight with Cory Sandhagen. Rarely do you see Cory Sandhagen. He was like frustrated in this fight.
Yeah.
And you don't see that a lot.
I think Cory Sandhagen won the first round, but outside of that, I agree. It was there wasn't much Sandhagen could do. As the fight wore on, the wrestling just kept going. So the reason I say Sandhagen won the first round is because the takedown didn't come until the end, and Sandhagen was not really on the ground. He was
it was kind of
and that wasn't enough with the striking, in my opinion, to steal it. Obviously, he lost either way, so it doesn't matter. Nurmagomedov moved to 18-0.
And we talked about before, this was a huge step up in competition for Nurmagomedov.
Cory Sandhagen's
he's been at the top. Yeah, and he just passed with flying colors. He dominated.
I
think it's well-deserved he's number 2. And I think he said before the fight that the UFC promised him a win here is a title shot. And, boy, if Sean O'Malley beats Merab with the ground game, then he's fighting Umar.
I'm worried.
Those are 2 tough fights for Sean.
But at this point, I mean, I know you could guarantee Nurmagomedov a title shot, but you could also make him wait. If O'Malley doesn't want to fight another wrestler back to back, and he wants to take, one of the other. Who do we have in the top 5? Peter Yan, not Chico.
Well, we just talked about
Figueiredo. You want to take Figueiredo instead?
I think Khabib's whole camp though they're never the most active fighter, so I think that's legitimate too.
Yeah,
where he could.
Beat
O'Malley, if he beats Merab, fights Figgy in December, and then fights early next year, fights Umar. But either way, I think Umar probably gets a title shot next, and I think it's going to be deserved. And I think we might be seeing a future champ, very soon the champ.
Yeah, I think Umar at some point in his career will hold the belt.
Still only 28 too.
You don't go undefeated, 18-0.
6-0 in the
quickly
UFC.
Through the UFC, defeating everybody. You don't do that unless you're actually the real deal. That's why he is 18-0. He was 17-0 for a reason. He's showing us.
Yeah. But I think that wraps up UFC Abu Dhabi. Good card.
Yeah.
New title contenders.
I was impressed. I liked a lot of it.
Big implications on the line. It was a good fight card to watch.
Yep.